Live streaming is on.
Oh boy.
So this title is actually going to be unspeakable.
Now everyone can see. Oh, I haven't started sharing the screen yet.
I don't think we're actually. Oh, we are. We are actually.
We're live.
How exciting!
How do I start sharing the screen without showing our URL to the world?
I think, you know what we can do? We can turn on security options. We can add a password, and the password will be...
well, don't say it.
I know.
We have to communicate. What's our shelling point, Gavin?
It's the password we always use for servers.
Yeah, okay. Then let's just do that. And, we're both in the call already, so it probably won't matter.
Right.
All right. Cool. Well, here we go.
So what's the title of this stream? It's something about notifications, like re-implementing Slack's notification tree.
Yeah, so the inspiration for this, I need to dig up the blog post. Slack notification flowchart. Yeah, this one. All right, so there was this blog post where Slack published the algorithm for how they decide to whether to send a notification or not. And I don't know, that's really the biggest one. I want the picture. Is it big? Okay, I guess it's big enough. It actually doesn't quite fit on my screen. So yeah, they published this flowchart. It's very complicated. And someone on LinkedIn commented and said, this is why software development always takes longer than expected, because from the outside, things look really simple. And on the inside, everything is just really complicated. And most people don't see all this complicated functionality because they're only interacting with a tiny portion of it. And I disagreed with that comment just as a gut reaction, because it seems like this could be simplified. There's a bunch of stuff in here that seems unnecessary. This thread message user subscribe check happens 3, 4. It actually happens up here and up here, so it happens 5 times. We have all of this channel versus global notification pref thing that I think could be somehow folded together or simplified. There's some stuff in here that doesn't make sense. If we send a notification, then we go to this mobile node. And if we're not on mobile, then we go back to yes. And then we just go around this loop forever. So yeah, I think this could be cleaned up. And so what I would like to do is refactor this flowchart. But I don't know how to refactor flowcharts. I only know how to refactor code. So we're going to convert this flowchart into code, and we're going to refactor the code. Now, what we started doing last time we worked on this was basically writing a flowchart evaluator where we could construct the flowchart as a network of objects that literally pointed to each other with yes and no arrows. And then we could run that flowchart. And I don't know, it was passing our tests, right? It worked. Should we just keep doing that?
So the other option is that we had started to implement gates. We'd started to implement a sort of just a series of early returns as conditions under which not to notify. Right?
Mm-hmm. And I imagine that's a lot closer to what Slack's actual code looks like.
Oh yeah, it's true that it's seemingly unlikely that they would have actually implemented the insane flowchart
but
tree.
We found it difficult to do that because the code didn't match the flowchart exactly, and we were trying to do test-driven development. But the problem with a flowchart is that it is not a list of examples of correct behavior. Right. It is a flowchart. And so you can't trivially derive a test suite from it, which meant that we were finding bugs as we like try to match our test-driven code to the flowchart, and then we would have to go back and add more tests. And it seemed like very error prone. So
yeah. We were sort of checking off cases as we went through them by sort of parsing the flowchart into those. But
yeah, so we can draw lines through the flowchart. Oh, can I draw on the screen? Can you draw in Jitsi? Is that a thing?
I don't know that Jitsi has an annotation or illustration.
I guess I would have to install a separate app for that. All right.
We were using a separate app for it. We were using the document viewer on Mac OS default. I don't know how you would do that. And, just some Linux.
You can get VS Code up here. So I actually haven't cloned the repo. So let's quickly do that. I think it was called Slack notification refactor. Okay. And I believe we had NPM dependencies. Ooh. So this is interesting. I haven't set up Node.js on this computer.
Okay.
So let's see what version of it exists in the default repository.
I don't think we want that.
What?
We don't want the default repository version of Node that's available. We want to use NVM to install arbitrary versions of Node.
The last time I tried to use, does NVM always build from source? Because the last time I tried to do that, it took like 2 hours.
On this machine?
And used all my CPUs for 2 hours. So we might not be able to screencast while doing that.
But now you have all these big, beautiful cores.
I don't need NVM. I just need the latest version of Node.
Sure. Great.
LTS or current?
LTS. What do you want? You want the latest version so that you
I want the latest version because I want to not have to compile as much of my JavaScript.
Yeah, you don't want... You
want
ECMAScript modules, not CommonJS requires in the latest version of... Didn't you hear? As of this week, JavaScript is finally a real programming language again.
Wait, was it not? When did it stop?
It didn't have... I guess you couldn't do Node ES imports. You had to do requires.
Huh. Oh, yeah. So they got import?
As of like this last week.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Is it released? Maybe that's in the latest release. Oh man, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Now I can finally run JavaScript in Node.
Do top level await also.
Okay, that's nice.
In case you wanted to write that.
How do I install this thing? It's literally just a tarball of stuff. I mean, there is a bin directory, so probably if I put that somewhere, it'll be fine. But like
building, download,
table of content, support, release types, building Node.js. Okay, I don't want to build it from source. I assume there's like a binary file in here. There it is. And these are symlinks that have no content. That's interesting. We have lib node modules. What? Okay, I mean, I guess we could put this somewhere and just like try to run bin node and see what it does. But I don't have any idea how to actually install this. Should we try the LTS version just to see if it has like an installer?
I would be surprised if it had a different footprint.
I kind of would be too, but like, I don't know. What's weird is like the README doesn't actually seem to be about this. Maybe they just expect people to run the binary that's in here, but that seems bizarre. I'm going to go get the LTS release because why not? Okay, that has the same structure. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay, well, I guess we just read the README and maybe it will.
Yeah, I don't know what any of these include, share. I don't know what the purpose of these is. I guess presumably you would just copy this directory into home/node and then symlink as appropriate.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, include is usually for header files. Yeah, we got all these header files. I don't know what we would use those for or why they're included in the distribution. I guess if we wanted to build things that link to Node, we would want them. All right. Well, maybe we can just try running this. Let's run the latest one, though. Uh-oh. Where'd my other window go? Oh, whoop, there we go. Yeah, I don't actually know how to use this computer. I just got this computer a week ago.
No one's watching.
I used Mac OS my whole life, and this is my first week. Well, not quite, but almost my first week using Linux. So I'm basically just bashing random keys and hoping that the right thing happens. All right.
Just to derail you a little bit further, I should point out that I'm streaming. My machine is streaming.
And what should I do about it?
Well, I'm just saying if we wanted to engage your processors in the packaging of the stream rather than mine, I could give you the stream key.
Well, that doesn't seem like a very safe thing for us to do on stream.
Well, no. I mean, you could do it. You could stop screen sharing for a second, and they could all look at our pretty faces.
All right.
While I message you. While I chat you.
Have I stopped sharing? I can't actually see the stream. The stream is invisible to me.
I'm watching the stream, so I'll tell you what. I'm going to stop the live stream.
Use our keys for this.
Live streaming is on.
All right.
Right.
Cool. Well, here we are again. So installing Node, archive manager. All right, let's.
Should use NVM.
Let's look at what I downloaded before. Apparently, archive.
If you could share your screen, then it wouldn't just be my face.
Oh yeah, I forgot I had to do that as well. All right, cool. So we got this Node 18. Let's extract it. Sure, put it in downloads for now. All right, so we should be able to now run downloads node bin node. And hey, we get a node prompt. All right, so then we just symlink user local bin node. We're going to link that to whatever this was. Will that work? I have no idea. Permission denied.
You really think NVM is going to compile from source and not just download one of these precompiled versions.
I have no idea. Well, okay, let's try it. That's
Like
probably
NVMs.
better than whatever kludgy thing I'm about to do.
Exactly. We really want to minimize kludge. I mean, so what if this stream takes 2 hours and it's mostly just watching it download and compile?
Okay, there's no NVM in the repo. So where do we get NVM?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just literally have to curl it out of GitHub user content.
Installing and updating. Install and update scripts. All right.
And attempts to add to the source lines from the snippet below to the correct profile file. But that's something we haven't even gotten into customizing. Although, do you have a custom PS1? Or is that what came with your...
No, I have not customized this at all.
Oh, okay. Oh, you ran it. Okay, so now you have it. Great.
I have it, and now I need to
Close
set
and
up.
reopen your terminal to...
Well, wait. It's
using... yeah.
pending.
Went to your bash RC.
Or run the following to use it now. Okay. Yeah. I didn't really want it to append to my bash RC because that has a lot of like stuff from the upstream OS distribution in it, but whatever. NVM. All right. So now we can NVM install 18.
Oh, good. The checksum's matched. Okay, it's installed.
Okay. So now, all right. I take it back. This was an excellent idea. Let's try running our program. So we need yarn, right? We have npm install yarn globally. All right, and now we can yarn.
$716 packages to run a file.
To run a suite of tests. Yes, I know.
To run a function with no dependencies.
Yep. Because we have a test runner that runs in the browser. And actually, it's very anticlimactic because you can't see it unless the tests are failing. So let's make them fail. Do we have VS Code? Apparently we do. Yes, I trust the authors of this thing. How do I maximize? What is the shortcut to maximize? Do I have to click this button?
I think it's Control Space. Or you know what? Who knows? I don't know what program is running that is tiling your windows.
That is a good point. I'm not sure I can tell you either. All right. Not that one. Where is our source code? Notifications.js. Here we go. So we can make this fail by... Oh, did we not push our other thing? We're back to just the if.
Oh, this seems sensible. What happened to our totally...
I guess I didn't push it. Okay, so we can fail tests. They fail. Last time we talked about getting rid of the stupid hello world placeholder and just displaying the test results. I think now might be a good time to do that. So actually, let's move this to the right. And move this to the left. So we can actually see what we're doing. And where did we put these things together? So I don't care about app. Gosh. I don't care about this. All I care about is the test results, and I want the test results to
There was documentation.
always render. So rather than searching for fail, I'm only printing them if they fail. Let's just do that. Backspace
delete
not work.
characters? You can't.
What is going on? Oh, here's the problem. Okay, so there's this problem with VS Code. I bound my shortcuts to Mac text navigation shortcuts. It's a long story, but the summary is it doesn't play nicely with VS Code's handling of menu accelerator keys.
Huh.
So I'm going to have to learn to use Linux shortcuts now to
That's
avoid
fine.
having to configure things. All right, that didn't work.
It's fine.
I want to go to the beginning of a line, so that's function shift left arrow to select the beginning of the line.
Oh,
Because
yeah. I don't know
function
why
left
function.
arrow is home on my machine.
Oh, sure. You can also just control shift left arrow and go one word at a time. Although, I don't know. I don't know what your keyboard setup is. It's opaque to me. 10 tests ran, found no issues.
10 tests ran and found no issues.
Love it.
All right, cool. And let's just make this not so alarmingly red. How do I delete a line in VS Code? Is it option, delete?
I
option,
always
backspace,
run to the end of the line and delete
Command,
back.
backspace.
But
Okay,
you think control delete would do it.
you would think.
Or meta delete, right?
All right.
I don't know. I kind of miss it. Whatever. All right.
Well, what color do you want it?
Wow,
You want it to be red when it's passing?
No, I suppose that's not so great. It's fine. It's
I
fine.
mean, we could style it to be green when it's passing. If you really want
Let's not spend any time on it.
All right. Where is notifications? That is not my file. Notifications.js. All right. So flowchart. Oh man, I don't have enough screen real estate to have.
In fact, this doesn't
Flowchart.
look like. This doesn't look like. This code is two iterations back, because not only is it not that funky tree style, it's also not the leading or De Morgan's style.
Oh.
So, probably. So, what does that mean? It means we really didn't push.
Yep. I guess I
This is
really
only
didn't
the first
push.
day's effort.
Well, I could switch computers and push.
How fast could you be at that? Faster than us rewriting the code?
Do I have to boot? Well, it'll take me a minute probably.
All right. Shall I tell a joke in the meantime?
Sure. Like, I mean, no one's watching our stream, so I guess we can also just feel free to sit here awkwardly.
Yeah, but I think this would be a good time to improvise, to innovate on. In the days when Sussman was a novice, Minsky once came to him as he sat hacking at the PDP-6. "What are you doing?" asked Minsky. "I am training a randomly wired neural net to play tic-tac-toe." "Why is the net wired randomly?" asked Minsky. "I do not want it to have any preconception of how to play." Minsky shut his eyes. "Why do you close your eyes?" Sussman asked his teacher. "So the room will be empty." At that moment, Sussman was enlightened.
Guess how many commits we didn't push, Gavin?
5?
More.
15?
Less.
10?
Less.
7?
That is correct.
Okay. 5 was correct.
Oh, and we also have uncommitted changes.
Huh.
I have no idea if our tests are passing.
What do the uncommitted changes look like?
On this machine. What uncommitted changes do we have? There's like, we deleted a bunch of stuff from should send. Let's see. Oh, we had this do not disturb node that we deleted. This looks like it's just a rename, but we deleted this code. I'm pretty sure this code won't run. We're referencing a name that I don't think exists. Let's find out.
For what it's worth, the stream's bitrate coming off of your machine is no better than it was coming off of mine. Now that I'm looking at the numbers.
Huh, all the tests pass. Why do they pass?
Because we're excellent coders.
Okay.
Or horrible ones.
Yeah, one of the two. That's always the way with tests that pass.
Either we've done a good job or they've come completely unstuck from reality.
All right. What are we doing?
I think we should pull whatever we can pull.
Okay, that's a good idea. Let's just start. You have
We don't have.
Right. Okay, let's. You know, I also fixed this problem on the other machine.
Then
so actually, let's get rid of our changes. Let's just throw it all away. Let's pull. All right, 8 tests ran and found no issues. So we actually lost a couple of tests. We have now a bunch of tests commented out. Oh man, what a mess we've made. And should send now looks like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, should send looks like a bizarre, what did you call this? A flowchart emulator?
It's a
looks
flowchart
like
emulator.
a tree of yeses and nos where every node, every in the tree has its, this is deliberately obfuscated code in an attempt to be as confusing in the exact same way as the flowchart.
Yep.
It's a bad idea pursued with discipline, methodically.
That is about the shape of it. Do we want to continue doing things this way?
Well, honestly, I can't remember why we were doing this in the first place.
We were doing it because it was a more straightforward way to translate the flowchart, but I worry that it's a dead end because what we're going to end up with is code that does mirror the flowchart. It does do exactly what the flowchart says it should do,
but we can't
refactor it. And the whole point of this is to be able to refactor it.
Right. And I remember we were saying something like, we want to write bad code, but we don't want to write worse code than they could have. Right. So this is probably right. So this is the code that we've currently got here with this nested tree and these functions. What did we call them? The binary deciders.
Yeah. What is do not disturb? Do not disturb.
It's a binary
decider that decides based on the God.
And we were constructing these.
Thing is going to be really, really obnoxious. You can just tell already. I can't drag the edge of the screen. Blah. Okay. So yeah, it decides based on the do not disturb property of its params, whether or
Right.
not, whether to call yes or whether to call no, basically.
Right. So binary deciders were just objects that could be given a yes and a no, and they're configured. They're like factories in a sense. They're configured. They're parameterized with a predicate. Yeah, I mean, it's this cumbersome, tedious, inextricable, cute architecture.
Well, look, a binary decider is a box.
Right.
It's like one of these things that has two arrows coming out. In fact, we should probably call them boxes.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Horizontal scrolling enabled? No. That's going to be essential.
I'll give you 20 seconds to figure this out before I get bored.
Horizontal scrolling. There we go.
Oh, phenomenal. Probably shift.
Oh, yeah, that also works. That does work.
All right. I wonder if I could turn horizontal scrolling on my Lubuntu machine. I haven't looked into it. Yeah, so we could call it a box. But at any rate, yeah, we don't. If the goal of this exercise is to write bad code in order to emulate, in order to prove the hypothesis that code is not inherently complex and unchangeable, but that this flowchart happens to represent a suboptimal architecture, right? A suboptimal software design. Then we should try and implement it not as not as an emulation of the particular tediousness of a flowchart. In fact, I don't remember why we went down the binary decider path at all, knowing full well as we did that it was an example of, I guess, unrealistically difficult to refactor code. Like,
yeah,
this code
why
is
did we do that?
so
Just because
hard.
It was amusing, I think.
So hard to refactor. So hard to factor out of. You end up with just one single data structure with no seams.
Well, does it really have no seams?
Well, it's made up of seams, but they're very specific seams. They're seams of a very specific structure. Yes, it's open to extend. Oh, it's so open to extension.
All right. Well, let's try this. So all of our tests are passing right now, right? And we have a relatively small amount of code. What if we tried to refactor this into something that was a little bit less obfuscated? Right? Like, we could inline this. We can inline all of these things. Or maybe the word is a little bit more obfuscated. Right? Like, we can just take our binary decider definition of broadcast and stick it right in there. And that should pass all the tests. And indeed it does.
Right. Oh, that's very interesting.
Then we can take our definition of binary decider, right? Because these things are all functions that are referentially transparent. So we can just put this right in there.
We could rewrite that as an arrow function. It might.
Yeah, I think we need more parens around it. But if we have parens, gosh, predicate is not defined. Where am I referencing predicate? Predicate is here. Oh, right.
In.
Because
it's the argument.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We need. Oh gosh. Yeah.
I think we could have modified it in place.
Okay. I'm backing this out because now I've
Yeah.
confused myself with parens.
Yeah. Backing
Uh,
out even the letter
Control
Z.
Shift Z doesn't work to undo. How do I undo?
I think you were undoing just fine until you wrote the letter Z. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the broadcast box. We can
Okay,
rename
we're back to
binary
green.
box.
Right. So let's rewrite this as an arrow function. So binary decider is a function from a predicate to a function. Right, and because it's a constant, it needs to be declared up here. Probably here is fine. All right, but now we can inline it.
Yeah, we could inline it even. We can get rid of some of these curly braces here.
Right, so we can do that.
Why are we doing this?
Because I think it will lead us to code that is actually more imperative, more normal looking.
Okay. All right.
Have a bunch of if statements in it, probably. I don't know.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen is we're going to end up. Let's see. What are we going to end up doing? So now we have this call to a function where there's just a hard-coded argument being passed in, right? So now we can take this thing, this function, and substitute it for predicate in this function. And then we're going to substitute the definitions of yes and no. And basically what we're going to end up with at the end of all this is
going to inline ternary here.
Yeah.
And this is all to say, no, actually, this code is quite extensible if you completely turn it inside out.
Yeah, that was going to be my line of argument, but no, I actually realized that it is not, because what we're going to end up with is actually an exponential explosion of possible paths. Because basically, so remember we had this user in do not disturb mode box that was an object that we had to extract out and then use in two places because it has two arrows going into it.
Right.
We try to inline that thing into the places that call it. We're going to end up with this. We're basically double the amount of code. We will have duplicated this box. And if we do that for all the boxes in this graph, it's going to be a very large number of duplications. I don't know. I calculated this before. It was like millions of boxes or millions of basically ternary statements or if statements. So we don't want to do that. This isn't going to work.
Do you want to just do one? You want to finish? Should we just finish this node for demonstration purposes?
It's finished. Look, the test's pass.
I know. I meant inlining rather than declaring the function that takes predicate as an argument and then passing it the predicate, just inlining the predicate in the expression.
Okay, yeah. So we can take this predicate and we can put it
calling predicate
here.
Params, you just say params.broadcast. yeah. Sure, yeah.
No,
yeah.
that was the wrong thing to do.
It wasn't quite the right scene.
Why is that the wrong thing to do? Okay. So this is the function that we pass predicate to, right? So this is predicate.
This is the predicate.
Oh, no, sorry. I took way too much. This is predicate. Params
broadcast. It's honestly, it's just we call that a destructuring.
What did I do? I'm like selecting too much or something here. I think my copy didn't work. This sure would be easier if I knew how to use this computer. Okay, good. That worked. And now, what's going on here? So we have this function that takes params, and it calls this other function with params. So now we can just
Simplify that to
change
params
this to
broadcast.
just be the predicate. Does
Well,
that
we can
make
just
sense?
wouldn't it just be params.broadcast? We don't have to destructure params here.
Oh,
Or are we trying not to reference?
We need to return a function. That part we have not factored out.
That's okay. That's fine. The return value here is no. This is silly. We don't need to call the predicate. We can just reference the broadcast property on params. We are returning a function because we're returning a function that takes params and returns
the result of calling a function
result.
with params that gets params.
Right.
Okay.
We don't need to do that. We don't need
Right. Okay, so we can just do that.
and then we no longer need to. Well, this I'm surprised that this is passing because it's redundant. We're no longer referring to the predicate argument.
Oh, yeah, that's because this function is only used in one place. But you're right. We can now delete that.
So now we can
Right,
delete
which
that.
means we can delete
That
this.
means we can delete.
We basically inline this.
No, I don't think we can delete that because we still need the definition of yes and no somehow to get in. So I think what we don't need to do.
Right. Okay, so it's like this, right?
Anymore.
So the yes and no gets passed to that.
So now that's an empty function. So why even call a function there? We could delete the function wrapper and the function call and just I'm saying we can keep paring this down just to show an example of.
Yeah, all right. So we can make this a function that takes something with yes and no, right? And then we can pass a thing that has yes and no to it.
Right.
Nope, that wasn't the right thing to do.
No, it was close. It's this extra parenthesis. I mean, get rid of both of those. It's just a lot of parentheses we're mucking about with here. It's just
it is
mechanical work.
All right. This is the function that takes yes and no. It is returned from this function. So it is the result of this. So what we actually want.
Well, one thing we can do, I think would make this easier to read, is get rid of you just take the insides out of that. Yes.
Right, this is the thing that this function returns. So I can just replace the call to the function with this value, right?
Yes, right.
All right, let's.
Which is itself a function. Yes, except that it is a function. Yeah. Okay, right, brilliant. I don't think that was the right seam. Oh, was it actually?
So one of the problems here. So this red underlining stuff is horrible. I need to install the flow plugin.
Oh, I see.
It's happening because I did not install flow. And I also need to disable TypeScript. Okay, good. Now we should be able to program without any annoyances. Except this. What is this? Oh, I'm importing something that isn't defined in the type file. Well, at least now it's warning me about that.
Right. So now we have a function that's declared and then immediately called, which is unnecessary.
Right. And so instead, what we can do is, well, we still need yes and no, right?
Yeah.
So is there any way we can simplify this? I mean, I guess so. Yes, there is, right? We can take this because this is the value of yes. We can plug that in for yes.
And replace that with the box. Oh, I see. Just plug that in.
And we can take the value of no.
Right.
And plug that in for the value of no. Oops.
Which is notify.
Nope.
Ooh, that was a lot of things.
I failed to copy because my muscle memory is off by one.
Just changing no to notify.
Yeah, okay. Notify. He said notify is not in scope. Why is notify not in scope? It's out here.
It is in scope.
It doesn't take params.
It doesn't take params. Were we calling
Doesn't
it
take
params
params.
anyway? We were.
Huh. I guess Flow wasn't warning us about that before.
Congratulations. Right. We wrote a piece of software that managed to escape our type checker. I mean, through excessive use of depth, through excessive use of abstractions.
All right. So now that we've inlined yes and no, we don't actually need this anymore, right? And Flow's going to yell at us about that with the tests pass, and then we can get rid of this.
Right.
And the test should continue to pass. And
Right.
then we can unwrap this function.
Right.
So this can just be its return value.
I did not follow those.
No, that isn't the right thing to do.
I lost count of the parentheses again.
Yeah, I did too.
We can get rid of that object. That
okay,
that parameter.
That can definitely go away, right? Yeah. Okay.
We can get rid of the function call entirely. Get rid of that whole line and replace no with, what are we doing? We're just collapsing this tree upward.
We just have this function that is immediately called, so it can be replaced with its return value.
Right.
But
it's
I need to extract the return value successfully.
Yeah, that, and then kill that whole line. Kill line 193 entirely. Right, and so now
okay, good.
Passed a no to the higher level. You know what's funny about this refactor from the horrible code that looked difficult to refactor is that we started in the middle of the tree, pulled the leaf node up, and now here we are at the bottom of the tree, but we still have the do not disturb box above us.
Right.
But, and we have what? We have suppressed broadcast in a ternary, and I guess if we were to do the same thing and explode the box, inline the box, the binary decider, again for suppressed broadcast, we would essentially end up with another ternary, right?
Yep.
So congratulations, ternaries are the inbuilt binary decider in this language, this programming language, JavaScript. So we could have built this whole thing with ternaries.
But then we'd have duplication here instead of being
that's
the reference
right, and it very large.
So yeah, I don't know. What are we doing? What is the point of all this?
I don't. Well, at first it was like looking at this code and going, I could do better than that, and then sitting down and deliberately going, okay, now I could do worse than that.
Yeah.
And writing a worse program. And then finding it difficult to write a worse program. As in, not in the sort of idiomatic sense of it'd be hard to write a program worse than that. As in, no, it's actually hard to write bad programs, or it's actually hard to write code, even as a joke, that has this much nesting and these, it was the chain of yes, it was the chain of no, or it was no, notify, no, notify, no, notify, sort of at the end. That maybe just didn't feel semantically accessible, right? I mean,
I don't remember that chain, but I believe it.
Well, it's sort of what we had before we embarking on this most recent refactor.
Yeah, I didn't even read that code.
Why not?
I was busy doing other things, like
Right.
learning how to use my keyboard.
Oh no, I mean the latest. Like if we were to stash these changes, right? What did we do here? We inlined one of the boxes, which was that was painful, right? Like
Yeah.
we lost parentheses. We so many times. I mean, inlining that box was
Yeah, but
like
it's
an unusually difficult thing.
yeah, the syntax is confusing, but it's just syntax. And I
Well,
don't
yeah,
know.
but don't we
The
want
biggest
to?
problem with this is that it just if you refactor it the way we did mechanically, you end up with a very large amount of code. And
Right.
I mean, maybe that's actually the way we should do this, but it's just an intractably large problem then, right? So we have to right? If we were, it's almost like what we would end up with if we went down this path is like the binary truth table of every input.
Yeah.
And the number of inputs is just so large that that's intractable. And so in order to write the code for the flowchart, we actually can't comprehend it. This logic is beyond human comprehension. Where'd it go? I've lost it.
Oh, yeah, it's not easily grasped by
I have to
users.
put cookies
right?
to see the image. Right. I guess that was the point. But I think it is easily grasped by users, right? Like somehow people have an intuition about this. If they don't, then how do they understand what's going to happen when they set their notifications in a particular way?
Is it true that people that Slack notification settings have usability issues? I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't done much.
We could ask someone.
Notification settings myself.
We should ask Mr. 750 words himself.
Okay.
Not that I'm in touch with him. Or can remember the name off the top of his head. My head. Nor is it on his website. Okay. Okay, so we set out to make an example of these poor programmers who are over several teams whom over several years have responsible for the complexity of this flowchart. We set out to make an example of them by guessing at the code that they wrote to produce this monstrosity, then writing a better version of it in order to show them up. But we're currently down an absurd detour where we tried to write totally unintuitive and difficult to modify binary decider trees.
Right. So maybe we should stop.
Yeah, I don't think that is going to help us humiliate anybody but ourselves.
All right. Well, it was fun.
So the question is, which commit can we revert to?
A previous commit.
I don't know about whip reset me. Yeah, brilliant. Love it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder what the code looked like at the previous commit. Should I just get rid of all the stuff that we did? We don't care about any of the last refactoring that we did. Right?
No, I think that was sheer demonstration purposes.
Okay, well, let's check out the previous commit. Oh, this looks much nicer.
Right? Seemingly cleaner. And it has a commit message like privileges mentions, which, it lacked privileges mentions above what? I mean, right. Above some things and not above others.
Yeah. What
This
is
is basically a
threads
table
everything?
also.
Am I the only one who's confused by this?
By what?
The name threads everything. What is threads everything?
Threads everything. Threads
Do we do this
everything.
to ourselves?
Is threads everything a term that we invented?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out in a tiny browser window. Okay, let's not be in a tiny browser window.
Where
Let's
did that?
actually
Yeah.
look at this image. Open image. Oh, it's a preference. Threads everything.
Right. Threads everything. God knows what it means.
Yeah.
I'm participating in this exercise as a staunch. I'm feigning total ignorance of Slack because it's easier than feigning total understanding.
All right. Unfortunately, I don't know if this flowchart is comprehensible in an environment of total ignorance because, as we've seen, it's quite complicated.
Oh, I mean, it just, these words don't mean anything to me, but the yeses and nos mean something to me. And presumably, right? And some of these things, these words reference one another. So I understand when a word is used twice. I don't necessarily know what it means, but
Sure, but I think trying to understand this flowchart reductionistically, where we look at every yes and no and try to figure out how they relate, is likely to be doomed because the thing's just so big and complex.
it's not that big.
It's like we will need to bring some domain knowledge to
Sure.
bear.
At first glance, yes, you bring the domain knowledge. I'll bring the ignorance,
All
the
right.
domain ignorance, and between the two of us, we'll come to an understanding. So we had made this into like a to-do list
We had.
by checking off different paths.
Oh, but look, now we have all of our tests. How many tests do we have now? 13. Wow. All right, so we've done 13
tests
things.
for
So yes,
5
the
million.
file where I checked off the paths is on my other computer.
Right. Which is fine. I mean, it's not necessarily our fault as programmers that we don't have a well-groomed backlog here. But
Well, who else was going to do it?
right. So I guess, shall we keep slicing?
Yeah. All right. So it looks like the last thing we were working on was at mentions.
Right.
We expect to send when the user wants mentions. They're not in do not disturb mode. The channel is not muted. And there is an at mention.
Right. So, yeah.
All right. So what's the next thing related to at mentions? Now we need... I need a bigger monitor.
Where did that go?
I'm not sure. It didn't go anywhere.
I need a glass of water.
All right.
All right.
Hello.
So what's our 14th test?
All right. So we were working on this node. Mentions, I think. Right. So channel notification preference. What channel notification preferences do we have currently? Our options are currently everything, nothing, or mentions. So is there more complexity under mentions to resolve? So we've currently done this path where they have mentions. They prefer to receive notifications for mentions only, and there's an @ mention. This comment on file owned by user thing is weird. Is that a different concept from @ mention? Like, did they ever occur separately? Yeah. So here @ mention is with highlight word. I assume these are like ORed together. Like if it's an @ mention or a comment on a file owned by the user, then we go to the yes branch and we send the notification.
Yeah, so those
I
could
don't know.
be 2 boxes.
All right. Well, we could do a file comment. That seems easy.
Yes, there it is.
Um,
Seems to be just another parameter, right?
yeah, guess so. All right. So
File comment when the user wants only mentions.
all right.
Not a function, it's a parameter.
We're going to
Parameter.
expect to send.
Not a function. This test should not be a function. Don't make it a function.
Oh, right. We've got our own magical DSL here.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. What's the problem here? It's type error because file comment doesn't
File
exist.
comment doesn't exist.
File comment doesn't exist. So let's cool. So we're not sending a notification. Let's add a file comment to the type. Now we need to add file comment to our setup. So to tend to send a notification, we want file comments because people are more likely to be notified for those. And to tend not to send, we won't have a file comment. Do you want to try to explain why we did this tend to send, tend not to send thing, Gavin?
They're just tests. They're factories, so that we have objects that we can quickly create tests with. So if we want to test a scenario, if we want to assert that the notification goes through, we first start with a factory for every reason we can think it would not go through, and then counteract that, right? So we end up defining parameters in relief.
Yeah, the way I think of it is we want to avoid tests that pass for the wrong reason. Mm-hmm. So we make the test fail for every reason, or like we have our base setup be the thing that will, make the test not do the thing that we expect.
See, this is the part
that make it do the thing that we expect.
Right. This is the part that relies on, domain knowledge. I mean, knowing, right? Like having an intuiting, looking at this and intuiting what tend to means, right? Like,
yeah,
that's difficult. There's no mathematical rigor to this, but yeah, it is a shortcut way to make tests fail in the way we want them to.
All right.
Draw white on black.
Cool. Have we fixed our failures, right? And delete this
I think it's a
debug.
good and necessary abstraction because otherwise you end up with like what? A default params, and the default is unknowable. I mean, there's so many states that the params could be in. What would your shelling point be? Like, what would it even mean? It would be meaningless. If we had default params, it would be meaningless.
All right. So this test is disabling do not disturb. Do they have to not be in do not disturb to get to this point? I think they do, right? Because they can't get to this without going through this. So either they're not in do not disturb or do not disturb is overridden. So we need do not disturb to be false. Channel notification preference should be mentioned because that is the scenario that we're testing.
Are we not testing exactly the... Oh, I see. That is the scenario that we're testing. The purple mentions, and not at mention true, however. Okay, right. Sorry, I got confused between channel notification preference mentions and at mentions true. Because they have the
we're still in this box, and the only thing we're changing is at mention versus file comment. So actually, the test should look exactly like the last one, except at mention replaced by file comment. And hopefully, making it passively similarly easy. All right. Cool. So we have a failing test, and I believe that if we change. Let's see, where do we check mentions? So here we're returning false if it's not an at mention. So that's probably what's making this test fail, right? Because we don't have at mention set. So let's say it can also be a file comment. Nope. All right, what did I do wrong?
Expect false is true.
Is there an operator precedence issue? No, because or should have higher precedence.
Sorry, I was fiddling with my windows. Can I have a look at the test? So expect to send true. Input do not disturb. False mentions channel muted. False. File comment true. If we get down to channel muted false, does it pass if we set at mention true? Then the test would be
better, I guess, because then it'll just be the same as the test above,
exactly
right?
the same.
All right.
Right. Okay. So this is a lovely failing test. File comment true doesn't pass. So let's write some code that will make the test pass.
Well, I can break another test, right? Oh, that breaks two other tests.
Trade one for
Oh, that's interesting.
Probably because... Yeah, well, here we go. I mean, just throw in an or.
That's what I did at first.
Oh, I missed that. And
it didn't work. God.
Not params. Wait, what is this and not params at mention?
So this is the condition for returning false. As in, don't notify.
Right. I can't see off the side. This line is too long. That line is too long.
Well, let's fix that. How do we want to arrange our spaces?
This was a bad idea. This and not params at mention. We should have done another or.
Threads everything. What the heck is threads everything?
It's just that,
what does that even mean?
I don't like this. I don't like this. Why chain an and not when we could just chain an or? No, that's not true. Another game of dominoes.
All right. So
looking at this and not immediately parsing it makes me feel like an idiot, and I wish I were not streaming right now.
all right, well, turn off the stream.
It's fine. I'm not an idiot. So the test fails. So the 13th test passed because we added and not at mention. So if, so like return false if we're not threading. I'm trying to remember how this code works. Return false if broadcast, but not suppress broadcast.
Yeah, these are all the conditions for
broadcast and
so
suppress broadcast. If do not disturb, but not override. Channel muted and not threading subscribed.
Do we have thread everything set to false in our test? We must, right?
The code we wrote is not trivial to extend.
Apparently not. Not in the way it needs to be.
But I blame this last construction and not params at mention. Let's see. Return false if those things, or if not params thread everything, which is just whatever, and notification preference is set to mentions, but it's not an at mention. Return false. So what we're trying to say here is that a file comment should be suppressed
Okay, wait. What about this?
Sure. Yeah.
Nope. No, a different test is failing.
What's the easiest way that we can make this test pass? We just take params.file comment, and if it exists, return false.
Oh, this test is failing because reason. I think this code is right now. We just have to change. We just have to add file mention false to this, or file comment.
Subscribe threads with threads everything off, and the user only wants mentions. Expect to send false. So file comment.
Although,
no, file comment.
If they only want mentions.
Live streaming is on.
So we expect to send false, right? Which means that file comment is going to default to true unless we set it to false. We're now treating file comments the same as at mentions, basically.
Right.
Which means that we don't want the user to be notified in this case, where they have opted to only receive mentions. It seems likely that we should
we don't want it to be a file comment. That's not what we're testing. That's not what we're trying to test here.
What we're testing, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So, okay. So can we look at the code again? So this not foo and not bar, that should be not foo or bar.
That's what I thought.
But we had it not foo or bar. Right? I mean.
So you're saying it should be this, right?
Right.
Oh, and that passes all the tests. Oh, so the other test was failing, and I didn't notice that it was a different test that was failing when I wrote this code initially.
I guess I didn't notice either. Possibly because, I don't know. I'm struggling because I can't see the code, the test, and the test results at the same time. It would be nice if we could get test results in the, I don't know.
There's a way to do that.
Definitely a way to set this up.
There's a plugin that we were using before.
Okay. Great. Are there any opportunities for refactoring here? Yeah.
I don't know about this chained or thing.
Yeah.
We just make a bunch of ifs.
A bunch of if returns.
If this return false, right?
Yeah, we can. Can we do it without curly braces?
I guess.
Just space return false, right? Just paren space return false. So close.
All right. Let's clean this up. So what is going on with the parens here?
That's like, yeah, that's one thing.
This is not necessary, right? Because and should be associative.
Yeah.
Indeed, it seems to be.
So if we're not threading everything, but we are channel notification preference set to mentions, it's kind of an easier way to write that. And it's neither a mention nor a file comment. Exit. All right. Seems fine. What if we... Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, okay, so this is interesting. So now we're checking channel notification preference twice, right?
Right.
That seems a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I anticipate that that's not the structure of the code we're going to want because there are lots of channel notification preferences. Look at this. So this might be premature, but I'm thinking we might want to refactor this to a switch statement.
Yeah. On channel notification preferences.
Channel notification preference.
Oh, I like that. That makes sense.
If it's mentions, then we're going to say you need an at mention or a file comment. So we're going to return true, send the notification if it's either is at mention or file comment. If it's nothing, we return false.
Right.
And the default is
that's not right.
It's not right.
Well, the problem is nothing is a last resort because broadcast. Wait. Oh no. Yeah, that might work.
Okay, and then we can comment this out.
Right.
I'm changing way too much code.
Well,
no, yeah, it doesn't work.
It threads everything is the one that doesn't work.
All right, we're not checking threads everything now.
Right.
Right. Okay. So that means we can just put that in here. I'm not sure what this means, but
right.
Right. Well, if params threads everything is true, this will be false. So we might return true. No, that's actually not right because we need the opportunity to fall through this return false and end up checking the channel notification. I know, but we've already checked that.
So in the default, or does that mean that for nothing there's an exception to nothing, which is params threads everything?
All right.
No. I like this.
Too large. We need to go back.
What do we need to go back to? I mean, you want to extract threads everything out of that?
The tests. The last time we passed the tests, we're going to go back.
Yeah. We can go back. Let's go. You can just delete the switch statement, and the test will pass.
Probably.
I mean, we could commit this, right? We've added a test. We've extended the functionality to include file comments. But it is weird, this threads everything. It's sort of like stuck in there in a funny place.
Yeah. All right. So I want to check the channel notification preference first. That makes more sense to me intuitively.
Right. Oh, hey, we've got and not. So we could do neither.
Then I want to change this and into a nested conditional. No, wait, we need to balance our if statements. So
Ben, wait, I think we could do this as a switch. I see it now. So I don't know what the deal with threads everything is, but and not twice. I don't think we need this else stuff. What are you doing?
I'm refactoring incrementally to the switch.
Oh, I
I
see.
think the first step is to balance our conditionals. I don't like this early return stuff. That's hard to refactor.
Yeah.
So
Early
I want
return
to
is
do
hard to
this,
refactor.
and then hopefully
Yeah, as opposed to
we'll get something better. Okay, there we go. So now we can move. Let's see.
Right,
So I wanted to pull this out into its own if state.
right.
Because we have ands here, we can now move this inside the conditional. Wait, is that
You
true?
could make this a not
No.
and then chain 3 ors, right? It's and not params and not threads everything mention or comment. You see, right? Isn't that that's what I would try next.
Do you want to control my screen?
I can't.
You can't. Not a Jitsi feature.
Right.
All right. Say it again.
Well, we could take these two ands and turn them into a chain of ors.
Okay. So that would involve negating
Not
everything.
changing it. Not there. No, just starting in line 194. Just starting in line 194, we can say neither params thread everything nor at mention nor file comment. Unless I'm reading this wrong. No,
So we do that.
Right, and
okay, that passes.
Right, I don't know. Do we need those parentheses there? Right. So if this passes, then you see it's basically the same as the switch statement. So we could just go back to the switch statement you wrote, but under the mentions case, just chain threads everything mention and file comment as the 3 exceptions, or not the 3 exceptions, but right.
Brilliant. All right.
And I like having the case statement at the top. This makes sense. And yeah.
Well, actually, wait a minute. We're not going to return true here. The problem is that we still have a duplicate notification preference check in this code. Because if this ends up false, then we still have this else branch where we check channel notification preference again.
Not in the case statement, not in the switch case.
Although, well, yeah, actually,
if
it's something that's not mentions and not nothing, we could still end up here. Return true.
I just want to see how the tests turn out if we write the case statement where in the mentions case we return, I guess,
what do we return?
Yeah, neither threads everything nor mention nor file comment.
All right.
Or the opposite. I can't.
Yeah, or the opposite. Okay, apparently the opposite works.
Really?
I don't know why.
Yeah, exactly. Great. That's elegant.
Nothing.
Return false. That makes so much sense. I love case nothing returns false. Right? That just speaks English.
Oh, case default.
Oh, default return true.
Well, if we didn't return true, we wouldn't need the nothing branch. So
Right.
I guess that's it.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Huh.
I mean, right?
It does seem to make sense. I still don't know what threads everything means, but everything
Who
else.
cares? It's a thing. You know, it's like you were talking about the first time we sat down to do this. We could replace all of the. We were when we were drawing out the tree. You could replace the functions with go-tos. Function
Mhm.
1, function 2. I just right. That's what these are. Threads everything I mentioned. I don't know what they mean. They're just params. Params A, B, and C. Why are we using the names? So that we can keep track of their position in the tree in the flowchart.
Yeah. Cool. I think we can commit this.
Yeah. We should get someone to do a code review.
Meh. Yeah.
We should get someone to do a code review of the box deciders.
Oh God.
See if they find fault with it.
Wait, why is this? I didn't save. Uh-oh. Okay, good. Test still passed because this was just a comment.
Oh.
Okay. Cool. Treats file comments as at mentions.
Right.
Oh. What?
The destination you provided?
My head is detached.
detached.
Oh, right, because
Oh, the at.
right. We went back one commit. We went
Oh,
back.
right.
That we
What?
we have this
Yikes.
commit where we.
How did we go back one commit?
I just checked out the previous commit.
Oh.
Okay, that's fine. Let's go back to main. Let's rename main to what do we want to call it? Like flowchart emulator.
Sure. We could call it binary decider, right? That's the name of the
binary decider. Okay, if you want. And then yeah, okay, we're back on our old commit, treat file comments as mentioned. So let's get branch main, and then we can get push. Probably have to force origin head. Did I not? Oh, it still says head detached. Wait, so when I did get branch main,
I don't know what that did.
where did it put main? Does get branch not do what I think it does? Doesn't create a branch? What is main? That's our current commit, right?
I don't know. I don't memorize that.
It is.
D7? Oh. Oh. Main looks good.
Oh,
main.
we haven't checked it out. Okay.
Marvelous.
And let's push our other branch too, so we don't lose it on GitHub. Binary decider.